Hey, this is Brian Whittington with EBS Growth, and today I wanted to share with you um, some ideas and really give you a sense of some, 7 questions that you may want to be able to answer before you build your own internal sales team. So the question might come to mind: should I build this internally, or should I buy this or rent this? And these questions will hopefully help you to be able to better answer that. So I think question number one is, and this might come across as a little bit snotty, but why in the world do you want a hypergrowth? If I can have a lifestyle business, a profitable business, because lifestyle businesses are usually pretty profitable, why wouldn't I just do that? Growth sucks cash. Growth and complexity go hand in hand, and they're going to put strain on your existing systems and processes. You're going to have to rebuild, restructure, reinforce your people. If your people were able to grow, they likely would have already been growing you. So maybe your people are going to be an issue, and it requires change. And most people are change resistant, risk averse. So those are all the downsides to hypergrowth. Why might you want hypergrowth? Well, if I can achieve hypergrowth, manage my cash flow well, and achieve market domination, well, once I achieve market domination, that's a pretty safe place to be. Also, if I can achieve market domination in one area, then it's fairly rinse and repeat to be able to move into another market and repeat that. So why do we want hypergrowth? And if the answer is because I want to, I can't imagine anything else, I have to. It's just a want. It's not just a want or desire, it's a necessity. Well, that's kind of where I am. That's my point. So I think the second question is this: in order to achieve hyper growth, well, I need to have the right message. So if you're prospecting, if your people are out there prospecting, and you keep hearing things like Han Solo there is, no, everything's okay, it was just a malfunction, how are you, right? If you're hearing that, people trying to jump off the phone, people saying, no, we're good. You probably have a message that is off. It's not on point. Now, on the other side, even if they don't clearly understand what you do, believe it or not, if they don't understand what you do, but there's curiosity, they lean into the story. Curious is this problem, right? That's likely more of an effective message. So we want to make sure that your message is right. Because if you have the right message to the right list and the right product or service, if you put in the right activity level, you're going to be okay and you will achieve hyper growth. So that's the list or the message. So third is this: how do you grow and develop your list? How to make sure your list is right? I'll really challenge a thought here and probably ruffle some feathers, but the days of hiring for Rolodex are gone. Unless if you're hiring in a really niche market for selling into a really niche market. I'm selling to the NFL, professional sports, NBA kind of thing. Yeah, you can hire for Rolodex. Those relationships are important. However, most hypergrowth, especially in our technology, SaaS, where I need lots of subscribers, lots of people, you're not hiring for Rolodex. You don't know that many people. So I need to grow the list. Now, that list needs to be ridiculously accurate, especially if I'm doing a lot of email marketing, digital marketing. If I start to get really bad, sloppy, dirty lists, I'm going to get myself in a pinch, right? Because then I'm going to get on spam list. I'm going to get shut down, blow up my whole entire communication arm. So we really want to be careful of that and make sure that list accuracy is there. How big of a list do you need is really going to depend on how complex of a sales process do you have. Do I have one decision maker, 3 decision makers, one decision maker, a few influencers? Do I have a lot of influencers? That size and complexity of your sales process is really going to determine the size of list. So if on average I need to reach out to 8 people and I have a fairly simplistic sales process with only maybe 3 people in it, 3 times 8, that gives me 24. So I need a list of 24 to maybe book one meeting, one company. Or excuse me, 24 attempts, one company, 3 people. So, I don't need that big of a list, but I need to know how to do that math. So how big of a list will you need? How will you continue to add to it? And especially if you're at startup, it's going to be really easy to try to save money, buy a cheap list, go to the library and use that service. And it's calling you like, the sirens into a rock. or you're going to crash and die. Don't listen to that siren song, but really figure out, how am I going to find an effective list? We were using Seamlist, really good list. It's effective, but it couldn't keep up with us. We're doing several hundred outbound attempts per day, 3,000 a week per SDR, and Seamless wasn't able to keep up with that. But if you just have a traditional SDR team using traditional approaches, that might be a good way. We are using Zoom Info, but that's tens of thousands of dollars to be able to keep up with that type of outreach. So whatever that is, really encourage you to figure that out, to be able to add to it consistently and keep it up to date using CRM. So whether you're using Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever you're using, what is that, Zoho, free, which is free. So whatever you use, just make sure that list is accurate. Fourth, I hear this all the time. My salesperson stinks. They likely do, 50% are achieving target. But how do you know if it's really truly the SDR? Because maybe it's a messaging issue. Maybe it's a list problem. Maybe I had the right message on the right list, but I've called on the wrong personas. I didn't do that one properly. Maybe your manager's the problem, right? People don't leave companies, they leave managers, the old adage says. So is your manager a problem? Do they know how to build up this team? Or are they coming out of an organization, that you would be impressed with that organization? They have good pedigree, but if they don't have an experience of how to completely build from scratch a sales team, I've seen this time and time again. I'm going to hire this VP of sales, and they crash and burn. And now the startup company or the newer company is now cash strapped and no further along because they paid this overpriced VP of sales who doesn't know how to do it. So is it a misalignment with that manager? Is it misalignment with culture or the industry? Maybe it's the length of sales cycle. I have a complex sale. They're setting appointments, they're setting meetings, but maybe I'm just in my cycle time. Is it training issues? Right people, but they just need some more experience, need some mentor coaching and training. Or maybe they don't have the right tools, whether technology stack, whether marketing, whatever the case may be. There's tons of tools out there. Maybe they don't have the tools, or you might be right. You might have the wrong person, but how do you know? And if you don't know how to answer these questions, I would be very cautious of getting rid of my SDR. Now, how do you manage your SDR then? Well, how do you recruit and vet them? Make sure you have a really robust process there, because even bad salespeople tend to interview well. So make sure that you have a really good, robust recruiting and vetting process. We have other videos on that, so check those out. How will you onboard people? It's critically important. Time to execution, really good onboarding process. How will you train, mentor, coach them? A manager should be doing those things. And then how will you hold them accountable? And then what's your sales process? What's the handoff look like? How do you do that? 6, what tools should we be using? There's a lot on this list. So make sure that whenever you're out there, you're using the right right technology stack. And if you can't use them, that may be a key point or a key idea to outsource, because so for example, with us, we create the list, we do the calls for you, we help you with the messaging. You're tapping into our CRM, our marketing automation tool. So we're doing all of that for you. So that might be a key point to outsource. If you can afford that on your own, just simply make sure you have the talent to be able to integrate all of these and utilize it to the fullest, because the worst is you spend gobs and gobs of money on this technology and then nobody learns how to use it and they don't use it effectively. The 7th and final question is, should I do this internally? What's going to be the most cost effective? On the left-hand side, now you can argue with me that these are high, and they might be, but these are the payments that if you're going to execute to the level that we are, this is what you're going to look at. And if you mishire, tack another $30,000 on the end of that. So that $190,000 a year, I don't know what that is per month. I should be able to do that, but you're close to, just under $19,000 a month. Whereas if you outsource it, do part-time. So our part-time, less than $3,000, and they're doing 250 attempts, 250 dials a day. So our part-time is the equivalent of 5 full-time typical SDRs. So, cost versus benefit, training, everything else, technology stack, what's that thing look like? And then that should really make you consider, all with this outsourced team, well, should it be e-commerce, depending on your lifetime value of customer, depending on your customer acquisition cost? Do I need to push to e-commerce? Do I need to do inside sales as opposed to an SDR, where they can take one from lead generation, demand generation, all the way through to closing? That's an inside sales team. Or should I do an SDR where they're pounding the phones, demand generation? If I do marketing, lead conversion, and then pass to the founder, president, account executives, outside sales team, however you're structured, should I go that route? So lots and lots to consider. But if you're able to effectively answer those 7 questions, I think that you're ready to really decide, hey, should I build this internally? Should I do e-commerce? Should I do inside sales? Should I do SDR team? What's this thing look like? If you're able to answer those 7 questions, I think you're in good shape. Questions on that, feel free to reach out. Information's right below there. You can reach out to me, Brian, or the rest of my team. There's my email and telephone number. Feel free to reach out. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.